Okay, I'm gonna try and be level-headed here. Today we're talking about Anthem, and as you can see before me, I've just finished an expedition, but you're gonna see why I wanted to start off with this first, because here we are looking at the loot, okay? That's fine. Good job, you know. You played for a good amount of time, you deserve to have a look at the loot you got along the way. So far, so good. Good job, EA. But wait. They hit us with the loading screen. And look at this. The cherry on top, connection problem. BioWare. EA. What the actual do you think? How do you think this is acceptable? All because of Origin? Well, I guess we're talking about Anthem. Okay, so this video is going to be sort of a deep dive into Anthem, and here before me we have the classes of the game. Now, I don't own Anthem, this is all footage shot from the demo. I'm fully obligated to say that because, you know, I don't want to mislead anyone. But we're talking about Anthem because this is what you have to choose from. Your variable different playing styles that you can go for in the game, which is good. They play relatively differently. I've played as both the Interceptor and the Ranger. You're going to see footage of the Interceptor in this video. I had footage of the Interceptor in another video I did about family-friendly content. We're going to get the Interceptor. I'm going to take a look at it. And, you know, you get some generic freaking dialogue. And she isn't kidding, actually. It is a very agile javelin, one of the most agile in the game, the most agile because it's lighter armor and all that kind of thing. But what you're going to see is my experience playing the javelin in a moment. But before we get to doing that, I want to show you the customization. So this is sort of roughly what the customization looks like. Now, I had the javelin, but I haven't got it equipped at the moment. So that already is a problem. And then I go out, and suddenly this new javelin is there. I go back into the forge, and I'm greeted with another freaking loading screen. So many of those in this game. But finally I can customize my Interceptor, so let's go in and see what's going on here. So straight away I'm trying to figure out how to change the color of my Interceptor, and I realize you have to click on things twice in order to customize the color. You click on it once and it will bring up a list of materials you can choose from. You click on it again and it'll bring up the other stuff. Now, I didn't realize at the time that that's what it required you to do when I was first looking at this, and I gotta say, it took me a while to figure it out. I was kind of looking at it like, what the hell is going on here? And the problem I have here, right, is the menu is needlessly complicated for no reason. You know, take a freaking page out of the customization options from games like, I don't know, Warframe. And they do it way better. You know, freaking way easier to navigate than this, I tell you that. You know, needlessly complicated for no reason. You know, so many buttons you've got to press to freaking get what you actually want. You see me freaking having to click multiple times to get the thing that I actually want. And eventually I get there, but, you know, the point is, customization does not need to be this complicated, but you need to be able to strike a balance, okay? You know, game design 101. Give us the customization options, give us lots of options, but make them easily accessible. EA, how hard is that? How hard is it to make it, you know, a menu easy to navigate? You know? I mean, eventually, like I say, eventually I got there, but this is just, it takes a painstaking amount of time to do this kind of customization. And like another thing, you know, you've got various fabrics you can buy and so on from the store. The store will be available in the full game. It is available in the full game. The full game is out. But, you know, they're fairly basic, fairly sort of boring. They add a few extra textures to your character. And you'll notice that that doesn't seem to matter when you're in combat, actually. Because a couple of times I've noticed, you may have even noticed if you go back to my other video, that there were a couple of texture pop-ins and pop-outs. Where 1 minute my character's looking all grizzled and dirty and covered in dirt, because that's a thing you can do in this game. You can make your character look like their suit has been through some wear and tear. And, yeah, it doesn't always show up that way in battle, I found out. Again, texture problems in 2019? Are you serious, BioWare? EA, come on. How hard is it to do this? Like, you did customization in, you know, Andromeda. You've done it in previous Mass Effect games. You know, I mean, this is, I give it one thing, it's more customization than freaking, it's better customization than Destiny had. That's for sure. And it's more on par with Warframe in terms of customization than Destiny was. But, you know, this is still leaving something to be desired. I'll put it that way, you know. You have the opportunity to make something that's deep and all that kind of thing. And technically, this is pretty deep customization. But, it's just lacking that wow factor, you know, I feel. And maybe it's just my customization, I don't know, but yeah, it's lacking that wow factor for me. Anyway, we're gonna exit out of the customization now. We're gonna get into the thick of it. We're gonna go into battle, and I'm gonna show you what the interceptor can do in action. Okay, so here we are. This is how you start your expedition. And notice there's no other players with me. I'm literally by myself at this point. And as soon as I load in to the Javelin, we're greeted with a very complicated freaking little interface that took me a while to understand, but essentially, as you'll see, you have your map, you've got your friend area, you've got this for some reason, which I have no idea what that's for. That's like slots, I guess, for when you go out on your mission. You can apply things to your character that affect you for that single expedition for some reason. I don't really get what the point of that is, but okay. I mean, I guess they're like consumables, I guess, which you store inside your Javelin. Doesn't really make much sense to me, but you know, that is what it is. I've equipped some here, I think. Yeah, here we go. You can craft them, you can equip them. Crafting, of course, will cost materials, I believe. You have to get materials when you go out into the world. And when you free roam and do what I'm about to do here, you know, you can add, you know, armor inscriptions and stuff that affect you in different ways. And I'm back out here again. Out of my suit, even though I literally never got out of my suit, but okay, we're back in the menu. What is this? Freaking Groundhog Day? Okay, let's go to the map. And let's go to free play. And you'll see what I have to do, right? Is I have to, you know, you can select difficulty. I leave it on normal. I have the option of easy, and I put it on easy, and I go into start the expedition. It's weird that you have to select the place you want to go and then go there. Also, this whole thing of that needlessly short clip for no reason is a little weird. And then another loading screen. Now, I'm just going to say this so this doesn't get old. Although, it certainly does get old when you're playing the game a lot. And this is only the demo. There's a lot of loading screens in this. And, you know, once you get through the loading screens, you're good. Once you get through that, you're fine. But there's so many loading screens in this game. You know, what happened to, you know, I think it was E3 2016 or 2017. You know, they were touting that we were going to have no loading screens in games. You know, you remember that? What happened to that? EA? Seriously, you say we're not going to have loading screens in our game, and then you rid us with even more loading screens?
Okay, sounds good.
I'm going to guess that it's because you were ambitious. Now, once you actually get into the game is actually beautiful. Like, it's genuinely stunning to look at. Like, you have vistas off in the background that you can go visit. People that will join you and do stuff with you, and that's all good and well. But like, you're lucky if you get to that, because it takes what feels like forever to actually get out of a loading screen. Now, gunplay is pretty awesome in this, I will say. Theoretically, you don't need to do this much gunplay with a interceptor. But, you know, that's my playstyle, okay? Don't judge me.
Dangerous. We need to clear up this threat.
Another thing I'll talk about briefly, actually, on display at the moment, is the character sort of creature design. The character creature design in this is pretty decent, I guess. I mean,
They are retreating.
I guess I can kind of call it original, but, you know, it's pretty subpar, really. Pretty standard. Now, of course, you find ammo scattered about the place to get health back. That's particularly handy to know for in, like, raids and stuff, where you will lose health rapidly fast. Now, I'm doing this on easy, because reasons. But, yeah, you know, this game, you know, has the option to be good, and in places it is good. It's just short of the mark, though, and that's what I want to illustrate in this video. You know, and if this was only the demo, I can't imagine how bad the game is. Although I have listened to the likes of Angry Joe talk about it, and, you know, he's explained himself that the loading screens are the worst of it. Once you get past that, you know, the game actually has some solid potential. It's just a shame you have to load in all the time. And another thing that I don't have an example of here, I don't think, but is worth highlighting, is sometimes you'll be doing a raid, you will be near your teammates and near where you need to be going, and it will force you into another loading screen. And I kid you not, a timer will count down, and if you don't get to the place within the timer, it freaking throws you into a loading screen to bring you there, even if you're like seconds away from being there. Like, what's the purpose of that? It just breaks immersion from the game. Now, of course, I've talked about immersion before, you know, and stuff like this, flying around and all that kind of thing, really immersive, really awesome.
And now there's an Ursix.
You know, you come across big monsters like this. This is another good example of the monster design in this game. And it's freaking cool, you know? Why on earth would you want to break that up with freaking ridiculously long loading screens for no freaking reason? They have no business being there in a game in 2019. Now here you're gonna see the full force of the Interceptor, the full speed. She is lightning fast. She's got evades and little things she has to get out of the way at various different angles and all that kind of thing. And once you get a hand of the Interceptor or any of the javelins, a lot of people have said you feel like Iron Man, and I can totally see that, because you do. You feel like Iron Man. You know, your javelin is your freaking Iron Man suit, and you can literally jump around all over the place. You can even hover if you want and shoot from midair, which is pretty freaking cool. Now, of course, I gotta recover, get some health back. These guys take quite a bit to kill. And I will remind you too, this is on easy. So this is an example of the kind of difficulty you're looking at. If it's somewhat difficult on easy, that's how you know you're in for a treat on the harder difficulties. 100%. Now, this is where it knocks me down. And it says, javelin malfunction, wait to be repaired. This whole repaired system, to go into that briefly, for the most part it works, but sometimes you can get shrouded with like so much freaking damage that it's not easy to revive a teammate. Now, thankfully, someone comes over to me and revives me. But as you're about to see, freaking Beast over here comes over to greet him. He did not like me being revived at all. Gotta really watch my health here. And eventually we get it. But, yeah, and
You've done well.
this is where I'll sort of talk about the social aspect, okay? So, as you can see here, we got two other players. These are not friends, these are just random players that I've encountered within the world. Now, in the E3 demo, they insisted that you'd be able to group up with friends, you know, in the hub world, but that's missing here. You know? And that I find a little bit weird. You know, instead you meet up with them in the interface in your javelin, and it's just a little bit strange that you don't sort of have interactivity with the hub world, like with friends in the hub world. And another thing about the hub world, I will say, compared to freaking EA, right, like EA's E3 demonstration, is this, right? They showed off this trailer of this sprawling hub world that was full of life and detail and all that kind of thing. And then you get to the reality of it, and it's nothing like that. There's barely anything going on in the hub world. The hub world is bland as anything. I wish I had footage of it to show you. It just suddenly, you know, it's lackluster compared to what they showed at E3. Like, how do you explain that? You know? it's literally another case where EA or the developer in question has promised so much and not delivered in quite the way you'd expect. And that's a bit of a shame, honestly. Because it's actually a good game. Now, this is another thing I'll talk about briefly, is the lore in it. Now, there's multiple things you can read up on about the lore, and it's pretty good stuff, you know. Pretty interesting read. You can learn about the history of the world, and they've done a good job fleshing out the lore. There's no, like, lore cards that you need to get, like Grimoire cards like there were in Destiny 1. Thank goodness that there isn't. 'Cause, good golly, if there was, I would be rather bothered by that. Of course, I'm trying to be ad friendly. But you know what I mean? It's really, you know, a shame that not all of the potential was brought to the table here. Because the game itself is not terrible. The gameplay is really fun. Find this dude, also really fun. But, you know, when you get past, you know, all that kind of thing, and you actually get down to the core of it, you know, that wears thin pretty quickly. You know, it's still, at its basics, it's a looter shooter. You know, and, you know, I mean, if you like looter shooters, great, you know, buy Anthem. And by no means, this is not a sponsored video, but, you know, if you don't like looter shooters, then, you know, it's by no means a game that makes you go, oh, you have to play this, and you have to play this now, you know. And that's what I wanted out of Anthem. I wanted more than we got out of it. And it's a shame that even in the demo, you know, we see evidence of, you know, promises unfulfilled. You know, concepts and critical ideas not executed and not even making it into the final version of the game, let alone the demo. You know, and that's disappointing to me. I mean, I will talk about the Interceptor. You know, the Interceptor, playing the Interceptor in particular is a lot of fun. But, you know, I question to myself how much fun I can have, you know, going around free roam before it all gets stale. Now, I was able to kind of do that in GTA 5, but, you know, that was a sandbox. There was plenty of things to do. You know? There's free roam, there's raids, there's, you know, little side activities that you can do here and there. But other than that, it's relatively rinse and repeat over and over again, and I just wonder how long, you know, that grind would last before it feels repetitive. You know, there's not really that much to do. And the raids, there's supposed to be only like 3 of them, which you grind over and over, by the way, on multiple difficulties. Like, it feels like a lack of content, or it feels like content was cut. Content was definitely cut, because, as I freaking said, there's a whole bunch of stuff they promised at E3 that just is simply not there. Now, this is by no means, you know, a bash at EA or BioWare, you know. I love BioWare, I love the Mass Effect series. So I was expecting something good coming into this, and, you know, I really want to be as non-biased as possible, so I can admit that the game is beautiful, but there's just some stuff that isn't right, okay? Now you'll see there, I'm gathering materials. You can gather materials throughout the thing. I mentioned that earlier. That's an example of that there for you. But, come on. You know, how hard is it to nail home, you know, a looter shooter and keep it interesting, you know, keep it fresh, you know? You're gonna see in a moment that I eventually, after a fair bit of looting and shooting, I eventually got bored of it because, you know, yeah, you can go around, you can explore the world to your heart's content. You know, if you want to go to that place over there in the distance, you can go to that place over there in the distance, and that's cool, but there's just something that's not quite there, you know, something that's just not quite right about everything, and it brings the experience down for me. Now, that's not to say that Anthem is terrible in the least bit, because like I say, it's beautiful. You know, graphically, it looks really good. Especially in HDR, but you know, there's still problems, and you know, now I'm pretty sure that was like some kind of location you can discover. There's locations you can discover throughout the game, and you can sort of like examine them, and it'll tell you a bit about that area, but you know, I had mixed hopes for Anthem, so am I really that surprised that the demo and eventually the game, you know, was lackluster? Not really, you know. And I think the problem is, you know, they're not taking off the right idols in terms of game development, you know. Take a page out of CD Projekt Red's book and take time to develop your game. Freaking Rockstar Games, even. You know, they took their game, they put, you know, time and effort into what they were doing, and you know, it shows in the level of detail and the level of things that you can do. Now this kind of thing here is pretty neat, I guess. Freaking air fight with some creatures in the air, which is awesome. But still, you know, damn. There could have been more had they not, you know, felt the need to rush this one out by a certain time, you know. And if you're not sure you can do it, you know, if you're not sure that you can bring it into the game, then maybe don't say it is a feature or confirm that it's a feature, because that's just not helpful to you as a company, EA. You know? Like I said, CD Projekt Red, freaking Rockstar, when they do games, they take their time. You know, we may not hear something from them at E3, but we know, rest assured, that they're working privately to make the best game that they possibly can. And I'm not gonna say that Anthem is the No Man's Sky of 2019, like some other big publishers are saying, some, you know, gaming journalism outlets are saying that, because I think that's a bit cruel, you know. But there is more to deliver here than is delivered. There is more on offer here. Now, I presume maybe at some point they're gonna have DLC for this game. You know, freaking expansion passes would be a really good thing, maybe. You know, freaking might as well be like Destiny and try and freaking preserve this game somehow. You know, but you know, just because of the criticism, one thing that I will say is important is you can't just abandon it like you did Mass Effect, okay? Now, okay, maybe Mass Effect was a lost cause. That I completely understand. But,
Tassin asked if we could check on a missing agent. Marking last
you know,
contact.
if you could, you know, figure out what you're actually wanting to achieve with something like this,
Won't take much to
or
say.
any game really, you know, then it might be better. Now, one thing I haven't talked about before on my channel, but I'll talk about it briefly now, is, you know, games are in a really interesting spot now, because they can be terrible at release, and they can be, you know, they can be updated and patched and all that kind of thing, and made better. Like, you can physically alter the makeup of the very fabric of the game itself. You know, Overwatch is an example of that. and you can end up with a completely different, completely better game in a year or so's time if the dedication is put into not leaving the game out to dry to die on its own. You know? If you really believe in this, this project that is Anthem, stick by it, give us those updates, give us those things, and maybe even if Anthem is not a game to buy now, it becomes a game to buy in the future. Anyway, now that this long video is sort of coming to a close, I am gonna go and
looks like they found you.
We need to stop them.
prep for the next video that we are going to do on my channel. We're going to be talking about The Division 2. Until then, I'm Naomi, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.